Hey there, my lovelies. How the heck are you? Welcome to another Shedlet, a mini holy shed, because as you may know, I'm taking it a little bit easier during August, so not taxing myself too much, but hopefully we can still have a lot of fun. And as you can see, I'm not in the shed. I'm actually in Clapham in South London. It's quite quiet for a Sunday afternoon at the moment, but you probably can hear traffic going by. And just over this wall here, actually, there's one of those community table tennis tables, and there's some people out there having fun. I love that kind of thing, don't you? It's great. Now, I know some of you may be down under, in Australia or New Zealand or wherever, where August means something different for you. But for us here in the UK, August is holiday time, added to which, for me and Pat, it's birthday time. We both have our birthdays one day after another next week. So, yeah, lots of fun. I love August. But it's also a month when, over the years, I have taken more weddings than I could possibly shake a stick at. And that's a great pleasure for me too. I love conducting weddings, and none more than actually the wedding of these two lovelies, who I helped to tie the knot at just about this time last year. And it was a balmy summer evening in a community garden in North London, just behind Arsenal's Emirates Stadium, where a delightfully diverse gathering of beautiful people assembled for the marriage of these two people, Rachel and Haroon. And as you can see, they come from different backgrounds, different traditions. It was a Christian/Muslim mixed faith wedding, and I was blessed to be able to conduct the ceremony with Imam Usama Hassan, who you can see here. He's a very interesting man. He's a scientist and astronomer, fellow of the Royal Astronomical Society, also an Islamic scholar, but most of all, he's a delightful human being. And I'm just so blessed that these two people went looking for progressively minded clerics in their two traditions who they thought would be happy to work together to have this sort of interfaith wedding. And through that, I was blessed to find this gorgeous man. Not everybody thinks he's gorgeous, within the Muslim community. Amongst some people, Osama is controversial. He attracts all kinds of bad attention on the internet and elsewhere, a lot of abuse, even death threats, because firstly, he is a scientist and he believes in evolution, which, there are plenty of Christian circles where that's controversial too. Astonishing in this day and age, but there it is. And so yeah, he's seen as someone who's betraying Allah, betraying the Prophet, betraying the Holy Scriptures, but also he's controversial and has attracted pretty horrible reactions from people because he campaigns against religious extremism. And I'd like you to take a look at a little clip of film of him talking about this, about some of his experiences about this. Take a look.
My name is Osama Hassan. I'm an academic, an astronomer, scientist, and also a part-time imam. I grew up in London, but for about 20 years since I was a teen, I was firmly an Islamist, somebody who highly politicized Islam and was convinced and was taught by the various groups and circles I moved in that the entire world was at war with Islam, the entire non-Muslim world was at war with Islam. And we had to struggle to bring about an Islamic revolution and establish a global Islamic state. Whilst I was an undergraduate at Cambridge about 20 years ago, during my Christmas holidays, I actually went to Pakistan and crossed the border to Afghanistan and trained and fought briefly with the Mujahideen in Kunar in eastern Afghanistan. This was against the communists just after the Soviets had left. So I took part in that war briefly, including taking part in artillery fire at the front line. After that, I supported the Bosnian War. I had friends who died in the Bosnian War. And the Afghan experience meant that many of us had sympathies for Al-Qaeda as Al-Qaeda evolved from the anti-Soviet struggle then. After 9/11, I began to really soul search because Osama bin Laden, of course, was a hero of the anti-Soviet war, but now had taken this crazy path of issuing a fatwa saying all Western taxpayers were legitimate targets. And I began that soul searching to understand, what exactly was going on. I spent a year in Pakistan in 2003. I, in fact, met somebody there who claimed to be in touch with bin Laden. This was in Islamabad, and he announced at the dinner party where we were that Osama bin Laden was alive and well, and that the work was continuing. Anyway, I came back from there very disillusioned with the state of Islam in Muslim countries, and all these notions of an Islamic state, I realized, were nonsense. What you needed was basic justice and economic equality. And the July the 7th bombing was the last straw for me. I realized not only had I rejected all of that excessive politicization, but now I had to openly speak out and fight against that nonsense. And that's what I continue to do, and along with Majid and others, have received a lot of intimidation and even death threats for the work we do now.
Wow, I love this man. Actually, I love meeting people of all faiths and none who are on honest journeys, people who are not locked into dogmatic interpretations, whether they are, of religious theologies or non-religious ideologies, whatever it is, but people who recognize, that life, that faith is always going forward, not abandoning the past, but evolving from it and forward into the future. The problem with, living through uncertain times, as we most certainly are at present, the problem is that certainty becomes a much sought after commodity. People want certainty. Of course they do. We all do. I'd love to have a crystal ball to tell me how things are going to work out in the world. The climate crisis, which now seems to be confronting us every day in the news, the war in Ukraine, America's growing tensions with China, the economic crisis, you name it. There are so many things. Better still, of course, I'd love to be able to control these things. We would all love to be able to do that. And religion is one place where a lot of people turn for certainty, to a God who is timeless and in control of events, a God who has got a plan that can't be refuted. So it feels like you've got this kind of cast iron cover, really. So there's an attraction to fundamentalist and dogmatic retrograde elements in all faith traditions. Dogmatic attitudes basically offer certainty, but it's false certainty, which thrives in the echo chambers of absolutist religion, in bubbles of certitude, and can, as we know, result in extremism of various sorts, but offers no constructive way forward for our world, basically. There are, coming up to 8 billion people on planet Earth, and just think about it. We all live on this tiny, brilliant globe floating through the darkness of space, but it's a globe, it's a planet which is overheating, headed for climate apocalypse of our own making. And then there's the geopolitical conflicts that also threaten to spiral out of control. All of a sudden, after all these decades of my lifetime, the nuclear threat seems to be sort of coming back into the picture again, which is all so sad. These are times, I think, when really we should be turning to our wisdom traditions for guidance in discovering global cooperation instead of all of this fragmentation and tribalism based on populist politics and religion and so on. It's a time when we should not be huddling together in these little ghettos for retrospective reassurance. We need faith traditions of courage, vision and progress, and not regression into worn out certitudes. Now, I'm not advocating syncretism, a sort of religious or cultural pea soup, where we ignore difference and where we basically rubbish tradition. No, 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 not at all. I think that diversity is a fantastic thing. I think diversity is one of the great achievements of human community. And too easily, syncretism, becomes a form of cultural and religious vandalism, where precious traditions and differences are annihilated and lost. But actually, I think that differences exist to be celebrated, not tolerated, but celebrated. But tradition, really isn't supposed to be something that isolates or contains or inhibits progress. Tradition exists to enrich, to provide a sense of rootedness, to provide sustenance for a journey into the future, not a journey into the past. So this little Shedlet is basically a toast. It's a toast to open-mindedness, because in my view, open-mindedness is one very beautiful fruit of the Holy Spirit. You do know Paul's list of the fruits of the Spirit in Galatians isn't supposed to be exhaustive, right? Open-mindedness, I think, is a spiritual virtue. Whether people are religious or not, if they have the quality of open-mindedness, then that, I think, is a spiritual virtue. It's a form of humility, apart from anything else, an acknowledgement of one's limited human perspective. And I think that the absence of open-mindedness is arguably the single largest factor in all of humanity's problems, political, religious, whatever. And in the history of mankind, I think it has to be said that it's, open-mindedness's single greatest enemy has been religion, and religious certainty, religious dogma. Faith, or indeed any ideology or worldview, becomes a problem. It becomes a problem only when it forbids any worldview but its own, when it says this and this alone is truth, and to hell with the rest. The substitution of dogma for reality has caused unconscionable suffering, death and destruction throughout history, and continues today, I think, to cause suffering and to prevent progress in many areas of life and many areas of the world. So hey, let's toast progress and open-mindedness. And this is a topic, I should say, which we will come back to when the Holy Shed restarts proper. But meanwhile, if you have a drink to hand, then grab it now, pour yourself a little drop of something, because I indeed am. And here's a toast to progress, to positive evolution in our world, it's a toast to open-mindedness. Yeah, it's to life, basically, l'chaim. Well, if you like the Holy Shed, you can support us by buying us a coffee through the coffee site link, which is on your screen now. It's also always at the top of the Holy Shed posts, and we thank you so much, all of you who support us in this way and lots of other ways too. Much appreciated. So I'm going to finish our little Shedlet with a song. No, I'm not going to sing it. I haven't got a guitar to begin with. No, it's a song by a dedicated Shedster, a big friend of the Holy Shed, a guy called Monty Linds, who is part of a progressive regular event called Fifth Sunday and Food for Thought. You can check them out on the internet, Fifth Sunday and Food for Thought. They do some lovely things there. So this song is basically a lovely summary of what I've been talking about today. It's one of Monty's songs and he's singing it, so enjoy this. Have a great week. Be kind to yourselves, be kind to those around you, stay human, and I'll see you soon. Enjoy August. Bye.
friends, thank you for your love. Thank you for your hospitality. Though we come from different worlds, believe in different truths, the road to peace will always be the same. My mind became confused, beliefs turned upside down. Midsummer sunshine worked upon my brain. But yes, the situation, friends, becomes much clearer now. Sometimes your dreams can never be the same. Thank you for your welcome, friends. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your hospitality. Though we come from different worlds, believe in different truths, the road to peace must always be the same. I feared your circle too, but sometimes you must let the spirit move. But friends and situations changed, and music in my heart. With dogmas conquered, all I know is love. Thank you for your welcome, friends. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your hospitality. Though we come from different worlds, believe in different truths, the road to peace must always be the same. Though we come from different worlds, believe in different truths, the road to peace